You have been using one hand your entire life without ever choosing it. Nobody told you to pick up a pencil with your right hand or your left. Nobody trained you. You just did it. And you have done it the same way every single day since you were about 2 years old. 90% of all humans who have ever lived on this planet have been right handed. And we know this not because someone counted, we know this because of what they left behind. 2 million years ago, early humans began making stone tools. When a right handed person naps a stone to create a cutting edge, the flakes come off in a specific pattern. When a left handed person does the same thing, the pattern is mirrored. Scientists have analyzed thousands of these ancient stone tools across Africa, Europe, and Asia, and the overwhelming majority show right handed napping patterns. 2 million years ago, before writing, before agriculture, before any civilization as we understand it existed, and already 9 out of 10 of the hands making those tools were right hands. Spear tips found at sites in Germany dating back 300,000 years show the same pattern. The way the tips were shaped and sharpened indicates right-handed manufacture in the vast majority of cases. Scratch marks on ancient bones tell the same story. When early humans cut meat from bone, they held the bone with one hand and the cutting tool with the other. The angle and direction of the scratch marks left behind reveal which hand held the tool. Study after study of these ancient butchery sites shows the same overwhelming right-hand dominance. Then came the cave paintings. In caves across France and Spain painted between 15,000 and 40,000 years ago, there are hundreds of hand stencils. Ancient humans placed their hand against the cave wall and blew pigment around it, leaving a negative imprint. When you make a hand stencil, you hold the pigment blower in your dominant hand and stencil the other hand. Analysis of these cave stencils shows that approximately 90% of them are left-hand stencils, meaning 90% of the people making them were right-handed and stenciling their non-dominant left hand. 50,000 years ago, the same ratio we see today. Ancient Egyptian wall paintings and sculptures from 5,000 years ago show figures using tools, weapons, and instruments almost exclusively with the right hand. Greek and Roman sculptures show the same. Medieval illustrations show the same. The pattern never changes. And in every culture that developed a written language, the writing system itself reflects right-hand dominance. The direction of writing, the way letters are formed, the tools used to make them, all optimized over centuries for the right-handed majority. This is how we know that right-handedness is not a modern phenomenon, not a cultural invention, not something that spread from one civilization to another. It is a fundamental feature of what it means to be human, baked into our biology 2 million years before anyone thought to write it down. And nobody knows exactly why. The first thing scientists established is that handedness is not a choice. It is not learned behavior. It is not cultural. Babies show a preference for one hand over the other before they are even born. Ultrasound studies have shown fetuses sucking their right thumb or their left thumb as early as 15 weeks into pregnancy. And whichever thumb they favored in the womb is almost always the hand they will favor for the rest of their life. So whatever is causing handedness, it is happening before birth, deep inside the biology of the developing human. For a long time, scientists assumed handedness came from the brain, specifically from the fact that the human brain is asymmetrical. The left hemisphere controls the right side of the body. The right hemisphere controls the left side. And in most people, language is processed predominantly in the left hemisphere. The theory was simple. Language dominance in the left hemisphere made the left hemisphere more powerful overall, and a more powerful left hemisphere meant a stronger right hand. It was a neat theory. It was also wrong. Studies of people with language processing in the right hemisphere instead of the left showed that they were still mostly right-handed. The connection between language dominance and handedness turned out to be far weaker than anyone expected. The real answer appears to go deeper than the brain, much deeper. In 2019, researchers at Ruhr University in Germany made a discovery that changed how scientists think about handedness entirely. They found that the asymmetry behind handedness does not originate in the brain at all. It originates in the spinal cord. Before the brain is even connected to the spinal cord in the developing fetus, the spinal cord is already showing left-right asymmetry. Specifically, the genes controlling movement in the right side of the spinal cord are already more active than those on the left. This happens at around the 8th week of pregnancy, weeks before the brain has formed any connection to the body at all. This means the brain does not cause handedness. The spinal cord is already setting the preference before the brain even gets involved. But why does the spinal cord develop this asymmetry in the first place? Scientists believe the answer may lie in a single gene called PCSK6. This gene plays a role in determining left-right asymmetry across the entire body during early development. The same gene that determines which side your heart sits on, which side your liver sits on, which side your stomach sits on, is also involved in determining which hand you will favor. Left-right asymmetry is a fundamental feature of how vertebrate bodies are built. And handedness appears to be one expression of that same ancient biological process. So why are most people right-handed and not left-handed? The honest answer is that scientists are not completely sure, but the leading theory involves evolution and the development of language. As the left hemisphere became increasingly specialized for tool use and language, it also began to exert more influence over the right side of the body. The right hand became the dominant hand in most individuals because the left hemisphere was doing the most important work. Over millions of years of evolution, right-handedness became the statistical norm. Not because right is better, but because having most of the population use the same hand created social and cooperative advantages. Tools could be designed for right-handed use. Tasks could be divided and coordinated more efficiently. A population where most people favored the same hand was simply easier to organize. But this raises an obvious question. If right-handedness had all these evolutionary advantages, why are any left-handed people here at all? Why did left-handedness survive? The answer is fascinating. Left-handed people appear to have had a consistent survival advantage in one specific domain throughout human history: combat. Studies of prehistoric skeletal remains show that left-handed individuals were significantly more likely to survive hand-to-hand combat. The reason is simple. Right-handed fighters trained and sparred almost exclusively against other right-handed fighters. When they encountered a left-handed opponent, they were suddenly facing an attack from an unexpected angle. The left-handed fighter had spent their entire life fighting right-handed opponents and was completely familiar with the mirror image. The right-handed fighter was not. This advantage showed up in modern sports data too. Left-handed athletes are significantly overrepresented in sports involving direct one-on-one combat. Boxing, fencing, tennis, baseball pitching. In every sport where you face a single opponent, left-handers win at rates far above their numbers in the general population. Left-handedness survived because in the most dangerous situations, it was an advantage. Genetics plays a significant role in handedness, but it is not the whole story. Identical twins who share exactly the same DNA are left or right-handed together only about 76% of the time, which means that even with identical genetics, about 1 in 4 sets of identical twins ends up with one right-handed and one left-handed twin. This tells scientists that something beyond pure genetics is at work. The environment inside the womb, random variation in early development, epigenetic factors that influence how genes are expressed. All of these appear to play a role in determining which hand you end up favoring. For most of human history, left-handed people were viewed with deep suspicion. The word sinister comes directly from the Latin word for left. In dozens of languages, the word for left is associated with something bad, wrong, or evil. The word for right in almost every language is associated with something correct, good, and proper. Left-handed children were forced to write with their right hand in schools across Europe and America well into the 20th century. The psychological damage this caused was significant and well documented. Today we know that forcing a naturally left-handed person to use their right hand does not change their underlying handedness. It just creates unnecessary stress and often leads to problems with speech and coordination. There is one final strange fact about handedness that science has not been able to fully explain. The 10% of humans who are left-handed has remained remarkably stable across all of recorded history. Cave paintings, ancient skeletons, medieval manuscripts. The ratio is always roughly the same: 10% left-handed, 90% right-handed. Whatever forces are maintaining this balance, they have been doing so for at least 50,000 years. The exact same proportion. Across every culture, every continent, every era of human existence. You did not choose which hand you write with. That choice was made for you before you were born. written into your spinal cord before your brain even formed, the result of 2 million years of evolutionary pressure and 50,000 years of stable biological balance. And somehow, despite all of that, science still cannot tell you exactly why.